We're ready to record.
Various incarnations of this.
Now the light's on.
The light's on right there. Are we recording? Somebody Bob?
Do we want to sign it? Because it says the undersigned.
Yep, that one's
Okay.
okay, thank you.
Alright, we'll call the meeting to order at 6:30. Of the select board, reminder to everyone that this is being digitally recorded, so please be aware and respectful of each other, both listening as well as when speaking. First of all, for open session, is Kathy here?
Kathy's, yeah, I
Oh,
think she's
She's
under.
coming in right now.
Alright,
And anyone following along in the audience, the agenda is up on the big screen.
you're up.
Okay, thank you. Hi, I'm Kathy Hansgate from the Board of Health, and I asked to, just come before you to, give you a brief update, as, there's been a lot of changes in the last several months. We've had 4 clerks in 6 months from, May through the fall, and a lot of record keeping organization went downhill. Each of us in the board are volunteering a lot of hours each week, depending on the week and other people's work schedule, to bring that all back into order, and we're very pleased to have Nancy working with us and for us now, along with building. She's, a very organized person, so that's been really helpful. I also wanted to, speak a little bit about the fact that over the summer, someone entered the office and accessed the Board of Health / building computer, and a lot of the files could not be recovered, one of which was we had spent several months of meetings and on the Board of Health regulations for updating them, because it hadn't been updated in several years, and that information still has not been retrieved. So we've been, thanks to Judy O'Donnell, working at home to completely retype the entire sections that we had been working on month by month last year. So that's almost ready for us to review and bring forward as new regs, updated regs. And along with that, one of the 5 Chromebooks that the Board of Health had purchased has grown legs and walked away, and we've checked everywhere and cannot find it. If you were to open the Chromebook, if someone hadn't taken the tag off it, it would say Board of Health and computers 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. So security of the Board of Health information and such is something I'm very worried about, have been for a little while now, and hopefully we'll do our very best to make sure that records are not lost and so on. And because of those kinds of things, I do want to say that if any changes are going to come up, whether it's digitizing records or whatever, that we are required by state law to permanently keep, we want to be involved in those decisions, and that did not happen when it came to the Kyocera and getting records digitized. We were not asked and discussed anything about it, so it's, water under the bridge now, but going forward, please, if something's going to be affecting the Board of Health, please bring it to our attention so we can, give you input or whatever's needed for the material. And some of those things that have happened over the last couple of years, I apologize for, but I was trusting certain, towns workers and stuff to take care of things because my heart and my mind was not on the Board of Health at that time because of my husband's illness. So now, we're trying to rectify some of those problems, including, going over the, revenue and expenditures, just so you know that we're reviewing all of that, going back, a few years. I have found some discrepancies that we'll probably have to just soak up out of our budget that should not have been paid out of Board of Health revolving or recycling because they were not approved by the Board of Health before they were paid. And so I will be working with Nathan and our accountant to make sure that there's a clear understanding that the various accounts that the Board of Health is responsible for, it's approved at a board meeting before they're paid. And that's clear. I think some of these lines got real fuzzy with COVID and everything else going on, meetings being all Zoom, nobody seeing each other in person very much, and that's okay, but moving forward, we gotta make sure that things are being handled as they used to be and as they should be now. So I just wanted to give you an update on some of the things that we're dealing with, so that you have an idea of the fact that the Board of Health is working very hard right now to do the best that we can. Okay?
Appreciate that. I have a couple questions.
Go ahead.
If you don't mind. Now, that computer that grew legs, who was notified on that?
Who was notified?
Was anybody notified?
I just discovered it in.
Okay, 'cause, doesn't CM Geeks can wipe that thing clean, can they not? So that can be wiped clean. So no information can get out. Did you know that?
Remotely?
Yes.
Okay, that's good to know.
Okay, so you gotta get a hold of the administrator, he'll put you into contact with the right people, and they'll wipe that thing clean.
Perfect. That
Okay.
sounds great.
So how long ago did this find out that this was missing?
I didn't find that out until December.
Okay, so it's February. Okay, so somebody's had it for a couple of months, it's probably a waste of time now.
And there
But-
may not be anything on it. We
Okay,
had
so
one,
it's just-
at the time that the 5 were purchased, we only had 3 board members and then 4 board members. The 5th was an extra, so that when we had a full board, that person could use it, so
Okay, so you know what number
I'm-
computer it is, correct?
Yeah,
Okay, so they should be able to wipe it.
But are we sure that it wasn't just
Misplaced or-
reused for a different committee? If
But
no one was
it doesn't
using
matter, they can wipe their
CM
information.
Geeks will know that as well.
That's what I
Yeah.
mean, they can.
yeah, so we can,
Yeah,
so
we'll-
that's good to know. No,
Yeah.
I did not know
There's a
that.
chance
That would be
that
awesome.
we reuse it.
That's really good.
Yeah,
Let's see what CM Geeks knows, and then
Yeah.
as long as the person that was using it was saving correctly, then we should be able to wipe it remotely
If there's anything on there.
if there's anything on it.
and
And
probably
if they-
retrieve whatever's there also.
And if CM Geeks did repurpose it, we'll cross that bridge if that's what happened.
Mhm.
So-
Okay, that sounds good.
Excellent.
Thanks, Peter, that's.
Yeah.
Because there's really no way for us to tell outside of that sticker, at least to my knowledge, what's Board of Health,
And they could just
what's-
peel that off if they
Yeah.
wanted to, if someone
Yeah.
took it off. So it's, it wasn't engraved
Sure.
in
Yeah,
it.
I'm just concerned if it walked legs outside of the town, that if there's information that you don't want people to see, it can be
Absolutely.
wiped clean, and it needs to be done ASAP.
And Kathy, I was hoping you could, in addition, speak to that the Board of Health, after my coming in last week, is slightly more comfortable with Kyocera, and Nancy is going to be trained, so moving.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
yes,
So
yes.
I went in last week and spoke with the Board of Health and showed them what the Kyocera and Laserfiche programming was, how to access it, how quickly, easy and safe it was, so I'm hoping that moving forward, looking back, there was a lot of turnover, and I hate to keep blaming turnover, But in the future, if we do any records, digitalization or anything like that, we will make sure that any of the boards that have the records in their own offices will be let in on that fact and allowed to be part of the conversation. But as of right now, we don't have anything that's looking like it's going to be happening soon.
Anyone else have anything else for Kathy? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Anyone I think we have other people here and they're recognized for open session, so Bella, the floor is yours.
Yes, you know me as Bella, but in the 18th century, I am Captain Archelaus Kenny. And may I introduce these others, who you may or may not know. Brigadier General William Wilbur, Major Hilary Scott, and the very good and esteemed Dr. Weisraben, who heads our field hospital. Here we also have our secretary, Christine, and we have a new member, Alex, and we have our vice chair, Daniel. And we are here with a simple proposition. Don't wish to take up too much of your precious time. However, we discovered that Mass General Law, Chapter 33, Section 130, requires for approval to drill or parade with firearms or harmless imitations thereof within Mass, that approval is required from our local town and also from the Office of the Adjutant General of the Massachusetts National Guard. And we can comply with all of this, but the first step is we would wish to petition you for a proclamation recognizing the Hubbardston Colonial Militia as the official Hubbardston Militia. Now, this is not something that's new. We had this in the past, as General Wilbur and Major Scott will testify, who were in leadership of the unit before I.
It should be perhaps specified that we are a historical, educational, reenacting militia.
Yes, yeah. Our flintlocks are ever at your service.
We talk to the kids at schools about history. This is not.
No,
We're not asking for recognition as a military militia.
You're a parade type militia.
Yeah.
Exactly. And in the spring,
We hold
with your
events.
permission, we would like to resume practicing our musket drill on the common as we have done in past years. Other things we need to get together to gain this approval from the offices of the Adjutant General is names and address of the unit commander, second in commander, and the safety officer. A copy of this proclamation we are asking you to issue for us, and a list of types and number of the various firelocks possessed by the unit. No serial numbers are required by the law.
These are all black powder
And
productions.
also
Productions.
safety instruction. Under 510 CMR 2-02. And there are various organizations that we can go to get this certification. And this certification should also include the various background and qualifications of the certifiers. We've had this training in the past, as Major Scott will testify. It needs to be show how we load the muskets, how we carry them, safety procedures, things like that. We've got all that done. And also, this approval, once we get it, will be good for 3 years. And our major purpose in doing this is to get ready for the sesquicentennial, the 250th, when we hope to be very active.
You said it would be good for 3 years. Is that from the state?
Yes, but renewal is simply done by simply repeating the information, giving them back the information, and they'll renew. Now, I brought this up to Senator Goby, and she assigned an intern to it, William Hood, and William Hood informed me that 510 CRM 2-00 is indeed still in place. Now, I know that relatively few other militia units may actually have this certification. But being aware of the law, we must obey. So, this is a win-win for you, because it costs you nothing, and it makes you look good.
I'm not questioning it, I'm just curious, what we have to do, not only just as a board, but also from the state level down.
I think all the law says is to issue a proclamation.
So it would be a motion to issue a proclamation recognizing the militia.
Basically just giving them recognition.
Yes.
Exactly.
And then I can
So-
draft it up.
But all the other legal aspects of the firearms, the black powder and everything else, that's,
State level.
everything's taken care of there, because,
We don't let anyone touch a musket without safety training. We actually have non-firing training muskets that we can use to introduce people to drill.
alright.
I mean, you're just shooting blank anyways, you're not shooting a ball.
Indeed, we do not even shoot wad.
No, right, you're just
We
black powder.
don't
bang.
even put any paper down.
Yeah, so
You will
then-
recall at the last
Right.
Memorial Day, where we were most pleased to fire a volley in honor of the proceedings. And we turned away and kept the area downrange clear. Because the sparks can light someone's hair on fire. It would be most unfortunate.
Does anyone have any questions, or,
I do.
go ahead, Pete.
Now, does the state require you to do training every 3 years, or is it just a, paper application to read?
Sir, we continually train.
You don't have to serve me, I work for a living. Okay. I understand that you continually train. Is there a requirement from the state, before you can renew, that you have to be certified, retrained?
Yes.
How often?
That is not stated.
Okay,
I'm gonna look that up.
okay. Do you have a designated, training officer?
We have a designated safety officer. He could not be here tonight. due to
Okay.
Exigencies of his work.
That's all I got. That's all I'm curious about, that if you have to be recertified every 3 years by the state, which means you have to be retrained every 3 years, is that basically what you're saying?
Oh, certainly, and
Okay.
provide certification.
That's all I'm looking to get, clearance on, clarification. Thank you.
We have trained in both His Majesty's 1764 drill and also in von Steuben's drill.
Okay, thank you.
Have we issued this proclamation in the past?
We believe so, because we must have been authorized in the past, because General Wilbur was breveted Brigadier General by the Massachusetts National Guard itself, when he portrayed General Henry Knox in the artillery train from Ticonderoga in the bicentennial.
Is the proclamation requirement a new requirement for the state approval?
That I'm
Yeah.
unsure of.
Okay. So, to be clear, so the
This is not new.
So, the proclamation's not new, or the requirement from the state for the proclamation?
The requirement from the state for the proclamation is not new.
Did we have this 3 years ago?
We did not have this 3 years ago. I'm saying we probably had it 20 years ago,
Okay. But am I
maybe 30.
Perhaps I'm misunderstanding.
Records have been lost.
It seems like we need approval for this every 3 years, and it seems like what I was hearing was that one of the elements of the approval is the proclamation.
Yes, we need the proclamation.
Okay,
Which is,
so I guess what I'm asking then, right?
Is
So
one proclamation good to go, or do we have to do it every 3 years?
Yeah.
Yes.
I
So-
believe we can resend the original proclamation so long as we do not lose it.
Yes.
So we just don't know if there's an original one on file.
We have not found one.
Okay, so then we're gonna say it's safe to bet, since Jeff's not ringing any bells on this and Jeff's been around for a while.
It's been nearly 50 years.
I missed the Revolutionary War though, okay?
Just barely.
Okay.
You were lucky.
So,
Please, Major.
I believe that the Hubbard militia, back during the bicentennial, was never deactivated. So the Hubbard militia actually existed up till sometime after the bicentennial. After the bicentennial, the Hubbard militia was disbanded. So it wasn't activated anymore. There was a Hubbard militia, and it became deactivated by the board just after the bicentennial. But the militia itself, and it was a militia supposedly, they were supposed to be activated, which I think kind of died out. militia itself. And then it was deactivated, but it was active. It was an active militia, but never, how you say, active.
So the militia that was in existence at the bicentennial is the same militia that is before us tonight with different parties? Or
Different
is different,
parties.
okay, but same militia
Reenactors.
body,
We are reenactors now, though.
okay, you weren't reenactors before,
Well, from my understanding, we weren't,
okay,
because of the militia never being reenacted. It was just, came into being again with us.
So basically, all we need is a motion to, as a proclamation to recognize
Thank you.
their existence, correct?
I believe so, one
You've
follow-up,
cut to the nub, good sir.
follow-up question, do we
Yes.
know if either of our chiefs have any concerns about this, since this has been happening for a while?
I knew of this issue's existence, but it was not brought to the forefront that it was coming here tonight until close to the posting of the agenda. So, short answer, no,
Okay,
but I can almost 100% speak to that they wouldn't have a problem with a acting militia, but if you want to make a motion to have me prepare the proclamation and check in with the two chiefs to ensure that they're on board and then present to you guys, I'd be willing to do that as well.
what is the formal name of your militia?
Hubbardston Militia Company.
Hubbardston Militia Company?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, would you entertain a motion?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we as the select board, issue and designate our chairman to sign a proclamation acknowledging that the Hubbardston Militia Company is the official militia of the town of Hubbardston pursuant to the approval of both the police and fire chief.
Okay, motion has been made
Second.
and second. Any questions, discussion?
I see no impediment to this. The fire chief issued me my powder permit, so we can keep the powder for the muskets. And, the police chief issued me my carry permit. And you know I can pass a quarry. In point of fact, every man here can.
So, not to worry. So, no discussion, no questions, and all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
So,
Thank you, we appreciate your time.
we will keep you informed as to the progress. And now, we will depart this century.
Thank you, gentlemen.
And again,
I
thank you
have
so
your
much.
courier.
Carry on.
So,
Here's your,
thank you.
Anytime, Jeff.
Here, so fast.
okay, we have quite the consent agenda here. Should point out to you that as far as the minutes that are on here, we were all present at the time for the meetings. All the appointments and any of those that deal with a waiting period, et cetera, that doesn't come into effect, so everything's clear. I'll read the names of the resignations and appointees, and then if there's no hold on anyone, I'll ask for a motion to accept consent agenda. We have resignation, Josh Lerner of the Finance Committee, resignation, Allison Smith, Agricultural Commission, resignation, Jane Abbott, Agricultural Commission, Kathy Hanskate, Agricultural Commission, appointment, 6/30/24, Mary Vartaresian, Agricultural Commission appointment, 6/30/24, Emmett Call, I think, Finance Committee, 6/30/2023, Sherry Maynard, Finance Committee, 6/30/2023, Fire Department wage authorizations, James Aries, Mart wage authorization, David Bully, Library wage authorization, and, is it Galway? Galway, and finally, library wage authorization, Patricia Lowe. Are there any holds anyplace? And could I have a motion to,
I'd like to make a motion to accept the consent agenda and minutes as read.
okay?
Second.
Motion made and second, any questions? All in favor?
Yeah, aye.
Okay, moving to new business. The Ware River Watershed Select Board letter, Nathan, you wanna
So, as you were all here at the last meeting, we had a presentation from our representatives of the Ware River Watershed, they had an association. The representatives of the Ware River Watershed body, and you guys had made a motion as the select board to have me draft up a letter in, not opposition, but just an informative letter letting the DCR that was drafting up the new access plan, let them know of a couple of the problems that our representatives have brought to our attention. So I did draft up that letter and put it in the shared drive. If anybody has any changes, we can discuss those, and if not, a motion to sign and send the letter would be appreciated.
I just have one.
Yes.
So in the second paragraph down, you list out the main worries, all the way to limitation of horseback riding parties less than 25 people. And the last one that I was reminded of was continued watershed access to the northeast section of the watershed. Apparently I was out of the room when that piece came up. I will send that to you
I have
as
that.
well, okay.
I have a whole email from who you're talking about.
Okay, fantastic. Better you than me. So,
Any questions or discussion? So basically, all we need is a motion to give Nathan the authority to send the letter.
I'll make a motion to have Nathan, send this letter once he puts in that last little tidbit of information to make sure it's up to date and, does somebody have to sign it or no?
Nope,
Just you're sending it?
the way we did it is I send it on behalf of the select
Okay.
board. It's easier than having to
I'm just making sure we weren't gonna add a sign page.
corral
Okay.
everyone.
Alright, so yeah. take care.
second,
A motion made in second, any questions, discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
I,
Aye.
Yes, opposed, motion carried. Item B, Worcester Regional Retirement Cost of Living Adjustment, would you like to address that before?
Absolutely, as you all have seen in your packet, we received a request asking for an additional COLA on top of the COLA that the retirees as part of Worcester Regional Retirement System would receive. In respect to our own employees, I cannot recommend that you as a select board approve that. When we're talking about 2, and that's on a good day, I cannot see giving the retirees 5. Obviously, you guys can discuss it amongst yourself, but that is just kind of how I feel with our financial situation at this time.
Okay. Any thoughts from anyone?
I've already had this conversation with Nate, I've already seen the memo, reviewed it, and, you know, same thoughts as what Nate just stated, which is, you know, it's fantastic that they're looking to increase the COLA for retirees, but it's already at 3%, and going up another 2% makes it 5. I believe that in order for this to pass, it needs to pass at 34 or 35 municipalities in Worcester Regional Retirement System for it to go through. For some towns, this is actually a significant increase to their sides. I know we've talked amongst us in the past, not in regards to retirement, but we've talked with regards to the school district, and we really wanna take a full community approach on these pieces, including for other folks in Worcester Regional Retirement System who, you know, we may not be as impacted or impacted at all. Other communities, you know, that could be 14,000, multiple thousand, even above that increase. They do try to sweeten the deal and say that it won't actually hit your assessment until 2026, but remember, just like with the school and the conversation we had last year, it increases the baseline, right? So it might only be 2%, it retroacts back to July 1st of 2022 for anyone who's currently retired, but it does bump their base, right? And then next year, when you get a 2% or a 3% increase, you're already starting at a higher number, just like what we talked about
And we've already
with
received
school.
our assessment, where, don't quote me on these numbers, but I know I'm within a couple thousand, from around 360 to around 420, $100,000. So this is already something that is going up considerably. It's one of our after the school, one of our larger budget drivers, so then there's that.
Okay. Any other comments? Then, would someone like to make a motion to authorize the town administrator to have the authority to turn down the proposal?
I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to authorize the town administrator to send a letter to Worcester Regional Retirement System, memorializing this board's vote to not support the additional 2% COLA for FY '23.
Thank you. Motion made
Second.
and second. Any discussion, questions? All in favor?
Yes.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
I will let you guys all know once we hear more regarding if this passed or failed or what the next steps would be.
I think folks or communities have until June 30th.
Yeah.
And my understanding was a lot of folks were gonna wait to see what everyone else did, so we should help
Yeah.
the
Move it
decisions
along.
come along.
Yeah.
We know Paxton voted it down and Barry was meeting tonight and their town administrator was gonna make the same recommendation.
All two of them.
Yeah.
Okay, moving to item C, the Rutland Regional Emergency Communications Center intermunicipal agreement. Basically, all we need here is a motion to approve and to sign the intermunicipal contract.
Can I ask a question on this, Jeff?
Mm-hmm.
So, it's a 3-page document, it's pretty succinct. So, we're not renewing this contract, like, I guess I'm a little confused on it. So, this contract shall be in effect from July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2025, right? First of all, this contract here says that it was made on the first day of July 2022. So it seems like we're signing retroactively
Yeah.
back to July 1st, so that's confusing me. It also has a provision in here, contract will be reviewed, updated, and signed by all member communities every 3 years, which is additionally confusing me. And then there's a piece in here, that says it renews each fiscal year, just to throw in a third
Date.
piece that was confusing. Can you shed any light on that? But it's let's see, certified, some changes, no, where is it? I thought I read it there somewhere. Automatically renew each July 1st unless notifications given by any member towns provided below and subject to funding by town meeting vote. So, I don't know which date I'm looking at, Nate.
No, Mr. Chairman, can you speak to that or would we like to hold this?
You want me to speak?
Go ahead, yeah.
Seeing I
You
was
both
rep-
attended the meetings.
I
so-
attended all of them. So, it's a 1-year contract,
Okay,
but the 3-year I think was put in there so we can get back together and renegotiate if we need to.
Okay.
That's the reason you see the 3rd year date. You know,
Okay.
they call it a 3-year contract, but it's an annual contract every year that has to be signed by all of us.
okay,
And then every 2 to 3 years, we're supposed to meet anyways,
Yeah.
every year.
Yep.
But I think that's in there just for, so we have to get together if we need to make changes. And that's the way I understood it.
okay,
We tore this whole contract apart. If you compare this to the old one, you'll see a lot of changes. We made a significant.
So, can you say
amount
that,
of
it's an annual contract?
we have to approve it every year, or you have to pull out of it. And we have to sign this municipal agreement every year.
And how often does the contract change?
It's like every
Whenever,
3.
we just changed it. I don't know how long the contract's been running like it was, but we just changed a lot.
So is this a
of
3-year contract or an annual contract?
annual.
But what's the 3-year language about? Why is that even in there?
I just stated that
The IMA
it's,
is
so
3 years.
the intermunicipal agreement with all 5 towns is 3 years, so we can all get together and renegotiate or reword the contract if there's any, issues.
Who wrote the contract?
Collectively, the 5 towns.
The 5 towns, we sat
we
down.
voted
Was
and-
council involved?
With,
Yes, they-
with.
Really?
Yes, this went to
KP,
council.
yeah.
It did?
Yes.
Yikes.
I have the contract that went to the
Because now
council
it's
right here.
Okay.
ready for signatures in that sense.
Is what you
Yeah.
have that.
That's the one that's with all the changes, okay, and it's missing this blue part right
Okay,
here.
so
But all
that's
the other
updated.
changes I have all the copies of the original contract with all the changes that have been made, and it's significant.
Okay,
The
but what
change.
we have in our drive is the updated version.
This is the updated
Okay.
contract that went to, KP
Susan.
to, approve it. And, you know, the only thing that I questioned is, I thought it was supposed to come to us so we could, if we needed to go to KP, if we had issues with it, and that never really happened. But I went through this word for word, and there's nothing, everything's what we went over and what we changed. And this paragraph in blue, if you wanna read, it's been removed.
'Cause
So,
this particular contract is a result of, the complaints that the towns, and a lot of it has been ours, have brought to, at the meetings, before Ryan left, for example, he and I were attending those meetings, 'cause at the meetings, you have members of the select board as well as the town administrators. And, we've had our difficulties, as some of you know, in terms of, with the antenna, et cetera, when are we ever gonna get it, and this and that. And also in terms of what we've been assessed, with what we felt was that we had very little say to it, it's all of a sudden like we got a bill and you gotta just pay it. These were strong concerns of Ryan's, et cetera, and other boards prior to some of you folks. And we addressed all of these things, and they have all been taken care of in that sense. And the new contract is reflective of that, to try to make it, easier and, the complaints that we brought forth to deal with, so that they would, meet.
and I can add to that, we really stressed,
Communications between us, yeah.
transparency.
Yeah.
Because the last contract was not very transparent. Because and what brought a lot of it about is they went and did some hiring, was it a year ago? It didn't,
During COVID.
not that they have to go to the towns to approve it, but we pay the budget, we should have a pretty much, should be explained to us what's going on.
Well, one of the things Ryan brought up, excuse me, Peter, but,
Yeah, no problem.
to that very point, because we were having very little to say about it, is
Right.
they were hiring people and paying them more than our own DPW. Consequently, we were losing people because they were going to work.
Right.
And supposedly we're the ones who were contributing to this, and we had nothing about it, so that this was one of the rubs, if you will, that we were upset about, so, yeah.
Is that in the contract now?
Yeah, that has been dealt with, yep.
Is it in the contract now?
Well, they don't, this contract
No.
isn't listing every single body's paid, this is policy.
I'm not saying it lists everybody paid, but it lists policy, and I think you just talked about policy, right? That should be in the contract. Is it in there?
Yeah, every 3 years.
No, the one Jeff just mentioned.
No.
So there's a couple sections in here, right? So review of dispatch center operations will take place quarterly with respective contracted towns, reps, or to a board of stakeholders. Reviews will also take place any other time requested to address concerns regarding procedures or operations. Operational procedures follow standardized format as established by the Rutland Regional Emergency Communication Center. Only exceptions will be made for specific agreed to cases. And then they talked a little bit about the budgeting piece when things are due and, how they're going to kinda apply their grant funding. So back to the, I guess, the retroactive question. So if I remember correct, you guys were talking about this for a while. I think Peter, you had actually brought it up back in the fall, right before they signed in November, saying, you know, we haven't still seen a completed document.
Right.
So
Yeah.
this is signed for July 1st of 2022. That's what they signed, right? They said, this is retroactive, we're going back to July 1st, oh, by the way, oopsie. So theoretically, if we're doing this every year, and I still think there's contradicting language here between this contract shall be in effect from July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2025, and this contract will be reviewed, updated, and signed by all member communities every 3 years, and then this contract will automatically review each July 1st. I think that actually needs to be addressed and amended, because I don't know how long the dang contract is good for. Luckily, we didn't draft it theoretically, so we could argue in our best interest, and then it's confusing, cause in here it says that to get out, we have a 365 days notice, but it seems like we could also just say we're not renewing. so, one more follow-up on that, Peter, when you said this was reviewed by council, do you mean Rutland's legal counsel
Yeah,
reviewed it?
KP Law.
KP Law.
Okay,
Yeah,
so they reviewed it.
yeah,
See, I find, so what happens, I think, sometimes with
that's
these.
what I was told,
Well, here's the wonky thing.
yeah.
I find that I wanna challenge that, and the reason I wanna challenge that, right, is in my past experience, when I'm involved in an IMA that other communities are involved in,
Mhm.
and we all have the same legal representation, they don't really have a way to separate their stuff out like most large law firms do. They don't do it in municipal world, like they share everything with everybody. So they tell you they can't represent you, either party. I mean, I've ran into that recently where everyone has to go hunt down a different counsel because everyone's using Bob,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So I find that interesting to say that KP Law would review this, knowing that KP Law also represents the town of Hubbardston. And this may not
Then
be the best
nobody-
interest
Nobody reviewed
for
that.
town of Hubbardston.
And we're not in any rush, so
Well,
we can,
I mean, theoretically speaking, it's a moot point anyway, cause
Right.
it's July 1st of this past year, like,
Yeah.
we're already kind of doing the work and everything else, but I would say before we even think about signing for July 23, we probably should have, you know, we can try to see if KP will review it, but we should have someone review it that's,
I can send it
Nice.
over to Carolyn
And that was
tomorrow.
my gripe, that, you know, all of a sudden it showed up on his desk with all their signatures on it, and I'm just like, well, they were supposed to supply us with a copy so we could forward it to KP on our end to protect our end, and that never happened.
So- so to keep this from holding up, Mr. Chairman, would you entertain a motion?
Towards.
Well,
Well,
it's a
A
surprise.
motion is always in order, so I mean, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion
It's quite a
that,
night.
that the select board approve this municipal contract agreement for July, effective retroactively to July 1st, 2022, contingent upon the approval of our legal counsel.
So just tentative, basically it's a tentative approval, because, we're not about to sign it, which is what we were
Right.
supposed to be doing. Okay, motion's made,
I'll second.
any discussion?
I have a discussion.
Go.
Are we gonna clarify the whole 1 year, 3 year, cause
That
no
needs to be
offense, that
fixed.
needs to be
That's what
cleared
I'll
up.
ask
Yeah,
for.
we need to clarify and clean that up to make sure.
Yeah, I don't even remember, I'm just
So that
trying
way
to go
It
through my notes.
sounds like they were aiming towards 3 years
Years with-
with you having the ability to request a review.
Well, I'm thinking
But then they
the
didn't.
the
It's the
annual
numbers.
signing would
It's the
be
numbers,
the
there's no
review.
annual signing, that's a 3-year deal that renews automatically unless you
Yeah.
give a year notice. What you get to do every year is mess with the dollars.
Well, the dollars aren't even stated in here.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
that's right, but
The map is.
that's what the review is about, that's
But
what
it
the
does require,
that's what
though-
the annual piece is about.
Did we discuss a 3-year contract? I don't think we did. Cause we went over that whole thing, that last meeting.
Yep.
And
How long do you recall discussing? Do you recall
I
discussing
don't,
a year or
I don't
3 or?
remember the 3-year thing, I mean, I'm,
It makes sense for 3 years, right? So a lot of these regional dispatch centers depend on
right,
funds from the state and development group grants as well as educational incentive grants, right? So they get these different pieces from the state that make up part of their budget and their calculations and so forth. And that's why a lot of them require you
here-
to give a year
this is my
year
original,
exit.
this is the original one I went, and you can see, you can go, I'll give this to you, all the checks with stuff was good, but these are all the changes that have been made, and you're welcome to look at it.
So I think we just need clarification
Yeah.
and we need to make sure someone puts their eyes on it and sees, and they're gonna point out the same thing, which is, how long? And it doesn't necessarily, I mean, we could argue either way how long we would want it for, but it just can't be conflicting dates in there and other pieces, and we wanna make sure there's nothing else that's against our best interest.
Well, maybe Nathan, you could follow up for us
Absolutely.
with Rutland. I know at the time, it was, Murray,
Moriarty,
yeah, Moriarty.
Michael
And-
Moriarty, yeah.
And his boss, and we had all the towns represented, TAs were there, so that, to get this clarified.
Well, why would we follow up with Rutland? I mean, I don't see the purpose of that, just have our legal counsel look at this document
Yeah.
and tell us where the gaps are and what needs to be adjusted, then we'll follow up with Rutland and say, hey, we need more clarity in this contract before we're willing to sign it.
Or we're willing to sign this contract with the amendments.
I'm not signing
Yeah.
anything.
Well, that's what I mean, with amendments.
And I've requested a meeting with Mike anyway
Good luck.
about the progress of the cell tower. And so,
So,
cause he told me the
Sorry,
end of
that was
February
very
and
loud.
I look every day and
Nothing's
nothing has moved.
happening, right.
Like,
Are you kidding? That's supposed to be
So
done how
that,
many years
that,
ago?
July.
that 3-year
No, it
thing
was
was
actually
already
years ago
there
it was
in the
supposed to be done.
previous contract, we didn't add that, it's just, all we added was to be, this contract will be reviewed by all members and communities every 3 years, updated and signed. That's what was supposed to be changed, so it does sound like a 3-year contract. And then, you know, the first and it runs from 1 to 30th. That's when so it's
So
confusing.
what's the purpose of reviewing a 3-year contract every year?
I would say budget.
Yeah.
well,
Budget.
this was one of our major complaints, because
Yeah.
we basically were just getting a bill.
Bill
And
every.
it had nothing to say about
Yeah.
why are we
Why did
paying
it go
all-
up $40,000?
They hiring people, they're getting raises and so forth, and we have nothing. Ryan was really, obsessed with this and that also, because we had no contributing aspect to
Well,
it.
if they're looking, we still wanna do this? Do we still wanna be part of this?
Not like
The
you
Rutland
can
Regional
just get up and move.
Yeah,
the
this-
other
yeah.
options
Well,
would
there was a
be way more
conversation at one
expensive.
point
They own the
about giving
tower.
the, no, I know, about giving, but about looking for something else and giving the year notice. That was a while ago,
Yeah,
admittedly.
But we are going to have to deal with them, Susan, because they own the tower,
Yeah,
and we finally, it's not working yet, but we finally got the tower, so,
Wow.
we kind of do have to deal with them,
okay,
and.
no, I'm just asking.
But they were.
I mean, I don't think I'm opposed to dealing with the group, I just want clarity in a contract that,
Nope.
you know, we're putting the town's name on and make sure we
Understood.
completely understand it and what happens on these 1-year
There
reviews
is a
and what
motion on
happens
the
every
table.
3rd year.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, this
Yeah.
has been going, I mean, that was part of the original contract, so I don't know.
So the other language that's here, so
What's the
back to
new
the
language
finance
again?
piece, on section 1, number 2, the contract will automatically renew each July 1st unless notification given, blah, blah,
Mhm.
and subject to funding by town meeting vote.
Mm-hmm.
So, right, so that's always our caveat piece,
Yeah.
but I,
Yeah, but that gets buried in a line item in the general budget, I mean, that's not gonna take all that.
All right, well, we have a motion.
What's the motion? I forgot it.
oh, jeez. Replay. Let's see, I made a motion to the tune of, select board will, I don't know, sign the intermunicipal contract agreement, retroactively for July 1st of 2022, contingent upon the approval of town council.
And I seconded with the, yeah.
So specifically, then you want town council involved.
Yeah,
as
noting
opposed to-
that we have 3 meetings this month and aren't really in a rush, as it's already way past the time where this should have been dealt with, I can seek legal counsel without an approval
Yeah.
motion, just so that, but now that I know you guys would want that, I would do it, cause we've been kind of light-footing around legal counsel, whereas to save money,
Mhm.
but with that okay, I will send
Leave it
it
in
out,
your hands.
and then we can bring it back up at the next meeting, since there are several meetings this month, and I don't think they're really gonna be too upset about a week and a half versus right now.
That being said, and he now knows our feelings on this, would you be willing to withdraw the motion?
I guess I'm gonna leave my motion on the table only because I think it's going to be beneficial even for Rutland to see that, we're not ignoring it, we are taking action, but also it expresses our concern about making sure that this gets reviewed first.
But the motion specifically is saying town council.
So,
and he's trying to say, save us on that, but,
he's gonna reach out to town
No,
council
he's gonna reach
anyway.
out to town council.
I guess I would just,
No matter what. we're reaching out.
respectfully
Okay.
say no.
Yeah.
okay, alright. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Opposed?
Yes.
Yes. Motion's carried.
They're pretty quick at that, so we should have it in a couple of days.
Okay. Under old business, Hopper.
Fun stuff.
Wanna start with it, Nate, and we'll.
This is the
around.
one I wanted to talk about less than the forecast.
Yeah.
So, short way around this is during my first meeting here, I was asked to go out and find a solid value for how much is left in the ARPA fund. However, for a number of variables, that is going to take more time than we really have to keep saying more time, more time, more time. The variables there are the decision to fund the Main Street takings through ARPA, because the law that kind of oversees takings gives a person or property owner a opportunity to accept, deny, donate for a period of time that is longer than the window ARPA is open. So we have to spend our ARPA funds by, I believe it's December of next year.
Yep.
I wanna say by December of this year, we have to have it allocated, spent by December of next year. This week, Tony sent out another letter to all of the people that have not responded to us, either with a donation or with the paperwork to accept their check, giving them until March 30th to do so. In complete transparency, we're unsure about the legality of giving said date, but we wanted to see what we could get. So,
How many homeowners are we talking about here, Nate?
25. That would be my,
These are all downtown.
yep, they're all
For the
downtown.
downtown project.
And
Yep.
we've got
They have not
probably
come in to get their
about
check.
20% of them already. And a good amount of letters went out. The problem with a lot of them are they have mortgages. So the letters have to go to the mortgage companies, and the mortgage companies deal with these day in and day out for different municipalities doing different projects. So then there's that variable. The other variable that is stopping us from determining the actual amount much less seriously is our dealings with Mr. Janssen, who is still in Iceland, reviewed the appraisal for his property, is interested in having a discussion, but not in complete agreement with the number that is on the appraisal. We, as a municipality, cannot go over that number on the appraisal, so there we are at another stalemate. And he wants to talk when he gets back from Iceland about different ways to move forward, because that's not the easiest phone conversation to have over the phone. So, and he'll be back the third week of February.
And how does that tie into the downtown project appraisals?
It doesn't, that's the other
ARPA,
variable.
Just the ARPA money. On the downtown, piece, 2 questions, Nate, and I don't know if you know the answers to them. The first being, so when we originally reached out to the homeowners to donate their property, even if they had a mortgage company, weren't they able to theoretically donate their property?
I believe so, but
If that were the case.
hey, Tony,
Heather, can I answer that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, in the originally, they were allowed to donate it, but then, I don't know if it was council, but something came back because David had to issue another form that they needed a sign off from their mortgage company in order to
So no.
donate.
Yeah, to give them a raise.
cause it does affect the mortgage company.
Well, yeah, fix the
Okay.
claim of the property.
Yeah.
It's
All
not their
right.
it's not their property to give away.
It's a title issue. Exactly, they have a lien on it.
Okay. Are those easements that are there all permanent easements, or are they construction easements? And does that make a difference?
On the form, they're temporary easements.
On the form, they're temporary easements is what.
Well, essentially, they all had to give up a certain portion of their.
But a temporary easement
Space.
is only for the duration of the construction, it's the most common one where it's not a permanent taking.
It's for
You know, but
3
it
years
might
It's for-
depend on the terms of the mortgage.
It's for 3
That's
years
supposed to
total.
be
So that they can
signing
do it.
stuff.
I was just asking, because I know I was
I don't know.
making sure we weren't allowing one thing initially and now, cause I was trying to see the loophole. I was looking. That's all I have, Tony, thank you.
So where does that leave us in terms of what we can or cannot do with the ARPA?
My recommendation was going to be take the money we know we do have, go and fund the absolute yeses, say no to the absolute no's, and then if there's 1 or 2 projects that are still in the middle, then at least that's much less applicants than, hey, everybody. And we can work diligently to figure this out, cause I'm under the impression that someday we may have to replace this money with another funding source anyhow, just because of the timeframes. They don't line up.
For the town center, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for the town center.
How much are we talking about?
With that, Tony, do you know that number off the top of your head?
What's this, 25 properties,
What
what
was
was
the
it,
question?
2 grand a
Sorry.
property?
How much is Main Street ARPA allocation?
What we have that, if they come back and say they want the money, that's how much we have left that way.
89,150.
To buy all the properties?
No, and there is
How much is left that is still hanging?
$1,000. Oh, 772. And that's another thing that we've been looking into because.
Wait a minute.
Wait,
No,
what?
you
Confused.
completely, you just, I think you answered a
Yeah.
different question.
Yeah.
No,
So-
look up there. So that's, hold on. What is
So,
But that's left over if we spent every single dime.
Route 68
Right.
easements was how much total? 89?
So we approved
89,150.
89,150.
Yeah.
Okay,
But
so-
our properties only added up to a total of 88,377. Is that what that means?
I don't think that's what that means, because
Amounts, but you think we've already expended 88,000?
I do.
Well, then there's only $700
Yeah, we're waiting on
left over.
$772.93.
How-
Who's that person? I'll go to their house right now.
How could we expect, so you're telling me they've all been approved except for maybe one person?
That is not what I'm telling you. I think that I think prior to me starting here, someone was paying KP bills out of the account. I need Sandy to
Gotcha.
completely confirm that fact, and that is adding to
Paying
the.
KP out of the Route 68 easement account?
Yeah.
So I think it was, I think the
Why?
purpose of the Route 68
'Cause there
easement
was
for
some
ARPA
certain-
was for the cost of the easements themselves. But then I
don't-
thought there was didn't we do a separate appropriation as well for more money to go towards the engineer for that project to oversee it?
Yeah, but that was a
Yeah.
different that's a different
That was a
pot.
different item, but we
Yeah.
did that.
Yes, we did
Okay.
half, didn't we do half out of this and half out of free cash, if I remember?
So it sounds like what you're
So-
saying, Nate, is
Yeah.
you need some more time to just go back and
Oh my
review the
God.
expenditures
So-
charged to the line to ensure that they were in the right spot.
Yeah, so
or
what's come
appropriate.
out so far is $44,650 to Howard Dono,
Okay.
$340 to KP Law.
What is Howard Dono?
Is that the engineer?
Sounds like it could be. Well, Tech I thought was the engineer,
Yeah, Tech.
TEC.
Howard Dono got another 2,500 down there.
Okay.
Well, that's-
So, I'm still
Appreciate the
confused.
expense on the engineer.
May I ask a question, please?
Howard Dono and Associates is a full-service appraisal company covering
Oh.
central and eastern Massachusetts.
So we must have paid them for the cost of the appraisals and the review
Okay,
appraisals.
so how much is the value of each individual 25 properties. How much is the total money that we need to pay these people, the 25 people, for their property? That's the number I'm looking for.
Peter, it's a little over $17,000, I believe. I'm not 100% positive, but that was.
Okay, cause it just, it gets confusing with me when I see it, for easements, and I'm thinking that's taking the property, when I see the easements.
So the,
Yeah,
But it's all clumped into one, they're paying this guy, the appraiser, this guy,
Yeah.
and that guy, and the homeowners, it's all bunched into one, it should be separated.
the people that have taken it so far, and excuse my list, Leading Edge Attachments, $2,000. Paula Dobeck, $200. Pamela Dobeck is both of them. Pamela Dobeck, $700. Zarina, Nicholas, and Demetra, $100. First Parish Unitarian Church, $200. Donna Tebow and Terry Adcock, $1,400. Lynn,
Excuse me, Nathan,
yes.
that list isn't accurate. And the reason it's not accurate is those were the checks that were originally cut. There's probably, I'm gonna say, I don't have the list in front of me, there's probably about 8 people or more that have not come to claim their checks. That first list was for people who did not have mortgages. We had to initially cut the checks, before we even sent out the letters to let them know that it was there to be picked up. And they,
Contacted
and
them,
a couple of them did not, a
Yeah, I
couple
know
of them donated the property, and the rest are just sitting there.
Yeah, and I'd say of 20 or so checks right here, only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 have been picked up. So,
They gotta be bickering with their mortgage companies or something, I don't know what else would be holding that up, you know what I mean, unless they.
Additional question I'd like to pop out here in terms of the difficulty, in terms of all of this. How, if at all, will this affect the fact that this project kicks in this spring?
yeah.
They're gonna be tearing up the road and and people still haven't
It can't kick
come to
in,
get their
it
checks.
can't kick in if the town does not own the land, we can't touch that
Well,
land.
I'm simply saying, project was going because
Yeah.
according to all the information from the committee that, and Dan of course isn't here to answer
Yeah.
these questions, everything with, all the ducks were in a row because the state had signed off on to this, because of that's the only way they would sign off, that everything was taken care of. It's already started with the telephone poles and so forth, that's all part of it, and the rest of it kicks in the spring, because the state could just walk away from this.
Well, do you have the signed
There's gotta
grants
be
of
some
the easements
legality
from
or
these
something.
individuals?
Well, that's why I'm asking,
That's what you need, if they
'cause
pick up
spring
their
is
check or they don't
getting
pick up their
closer.
check, doesn't have anything to do with anything.
Yeah, we have what we need to do the
Yeah.
project.
Alright, so it's all been
But that's why
obtained
this
and
is
recorded.
that's why this is a conversation about ARPA spending and
Mhm.
not
Right.
pushing off the
And
project.
and it's
Right.
all been recorded with the
Right.
registry of deeds and everything
Yeah.
else,
Yeah.
so we own the land.
I'm under that impression.
Well, we don't own anything, it's a temporary
You have,
construction
you have
easement.
what you need.
We have the right to,
So,
Start
we don't own the
digging.
land, but we have a 3-year
Right to use the land.
to
And that
produce the
answers my
land.
question, we can
Produce-
start digging and.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and it doesn't have anything to do
So
with the
our end is
dollars.
covered then, when it comes
Our end is
to
covered
construction.
in
For
terms
that.
of permission,
Yes.
but
And you
here's
certainly
where
made
it-
the effort to try to.
It's
Yeah,
the
and-
money to pay the people for
Yeah.
the property, or the mortgage company, that's the issue.
Yeah, and the checks go bad after, I believe, 180 days.
Then they'll
So
have to
now
recut 'em.
so now the original checks need to be recut,
And they have to be picked up, correct?
and they
That's
have to
the
be
other.
picked up.
You
And
can't
they-
just
You
mail
can't
it.
No, 'cause
mail
there's
them the check,
paperwork you have to
they
fill
have to
out.
pick it up,
Yeah.
they have to
And
sign
we've
for it.
tried mailing the paperwork several times at this point.
Where,
And there are some people, a good example of it, there was a family that
So-
just recently came and filled out their paperwork because they were under the impression that their tree was going to be removed. It was
Yeah.
not one of the trees
Yeah.
that were removed, so then they decided, hey, you know what, we'll cut down the tree, but that couple $100 or $1,000 really will help me, because I'll use it to cut down the tree.
yeah,
So they came forward and Tony assisted them in filling out the paperwork just, what was that, last Wednesday? So there are still people thinking, and they have the legal right to do so.
So why don't we not pay this through ARPA? Why why don't we pay this through free cash or some other way?
Well, I think the problem is we still, regardless, Nate's gotta figure it
Yeah,
out, cause
that
we're only
propo-
looking
that
at
proposal is
$700
coming.
left on the table right now.
Yeah, there should be 17,000 in there, so.
Right,
Something's wrong.
We gotta figure out the number, I understand that.
And
But
we,
if
in
that
that
number, if
proposal-
that number is being funded through ARPA, and ARPA
Yeah.
is conflicting with the time frame these people have, you know, to get back to us, and they're not getting back to
Yeah.
us, then let's fund it a different way.
Yeah, we'll
That
have to
proposal
solicit.
is coming,
Okay.
like, that's
Yeah.
something we were working towards.
Okay.
So, the other
We'll have to have
issue
more
is,
ARPA meetings.
the other issue is, there's money that's been spent for that account to pay these people that's no longer there.
Yes.
So,
As
and it's
of-
gone, the money's gone already, it's gone, so we still have to come up with it from somewhere else, either from ARPA or go somewhere else, like you were saying.
I don't understand that.
So what he's saying.
The original amount, which was, can you bring that up again, please?
80, yep.
So,
I'm only talking about the homeowners portion.
yeah,
It
but,
was all grouped into one group, and they were paying the appraiser, they were paying.
I understand.
Okay, so,
So why can't we just pull out the homeowners portion?
cause the homeowners portion according to Tony right now is
$700
17,000, and we currently
it's
only have
$700.
$700, so we're only shy $16,300,
Yeah, we
which
don't know
would
where
put
it
us in the negative.
Well, we know that's a financing slip of a digit, so we gotta figure that out.
We,
19,300 is the amount that it was anticipated in December,
For the homeowners.
in general.
How long
Across
have
the
we known
board
this money's
to
been
fund the
missing?
project.
Not
So
missing,
I-
but it's got spent somewhere, we know that.
I think we just need to give Nate some time to
Yes.
work with the finance
Okay.
folks to figure out and do a full, dive to figure out what's what, make sure everything's appropriated from the right column and expended from the right
I
column.
respectfully request more time to have a discussion on this at our February the 27th meeting.
Okay, yep. So we'll just table this right now, as far as the, and
And
put it
I
on the agenda
will-
for that meeting.
I will let the business owner from Giacomo's who requested that we talk about this know that we are trying to sort out some things and that it will be discussed at a later meeting.
Yeah, I
And that
mean-
we apologize that there was a longer than anticipated waiting period,
Why did the business owner from Giacomo request we discuss this?
because she made a request for funding.
We have all those outstanding requests still for folks that were either approved or not approved from ARPA that came back to the select board, but remember, we weren't able to come up with a methodology.
Because we didn't know how much we had left.
Yeah, 'cause we didn't know how much.
So we keep coming back to that same question, which.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
But is, on the application, was there a time limit on that application when they originally filled it out? Like, we give you an answer by this date, or is the end of the contract in 24?
And you have till December of this year to allocate.
Right.
There's no.
Right.
No, but the businesses are like, at
Well,
least
I
two of them
understand,
are
it's,
for stuff.
No,
to-
well, there's no obligated date that we have to let them know.
you're right, that's what I was.
Obviously, we're trying to do as best we can to let
Yeah,
them know
we're
as
trying to
soon
be
as possible, but
transparent and get money
we
to
gotta-
them as quick
we've
as we
gotta-
can,
right.
obviously.
But we've gotta figure out where we stand before we can start doling out money
Yeah,
that
there's
we don't have.
99 other things going on just for that reason, to get to that, so.
Okay then,
I feel
so,
their pain.
table that until the, meeting of the 26th, right?
26th or 27th.
What's the 27th? I've got it.
The end of February.
Yeah, thank you very much, that's a good way of putting it.
Gonna leave here?
27th, according to our calendar. Okay,
Not a leap.
Now leave here.
That'll be the 28th then.
It is the 27th.
okay, that sounds, so we'll.
And why are we having three meetings this month anyways, not to get off the subject, but.
I was also confused how we had almost no meetings in January.
Yeah,
and how-
why did we only have one meeting in January and 3 in February? I don't
When's our
understand.
third meetings in
February 21st is our next meeting
And then the week
supposedly.
following.
That's a Tuesday.
And then
Yeah.
on the 27th.
Oh,
And
I
that's
can't
how-
do the 27th. Second and fourth meetings, I'm work obligated.
I was just going with how the schedule was
Yeah,
already.
no, it's-
We can, if you send a request to the chair, I'm sure we can
Yeah,
work
we can
something out.
modify it, I mean, unless.
Yeah, when's our next one in
The
March?
21st, right?
No, March, I mean.
In March, March 6th.
It would be the same dates. March
the
and
first,
February
yeah, the
repeat.
sixth, yeah, so I don't know why we have
It's
the
like
third one.
Groundhog Day all over again, February.
And it was put on
Been
a
almost
Tuesday for
1,000
some reason.
minutes.
Well, the 21st was on a Tuesday, cause the 20th is a holiday, right?
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like
The
President's Day
Washington-
or something,
Oh,
Washington,
the
yeah.
presidential
It's-
weekend,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's the
Buy a
sixth,
car.
the 20th.
Huh?
Kayak.
So yeah, if anyone has any requests for moving the meetings, email myself or the chair.
No, I was just seeing what's on top of that. What,
It's just a seal, you use different colored markers.
oh, I
It's
thought it
the
was
seal.
candy.
No, not candy.
He's looking for candy.
No, I'm not, I just, it
For
looked,
Pete's sake.
I'm like,
Well,
what?
why don't we
Oh my.
resolve it right now while we're on here?
Yeah,
Good.
yeah.
What's the problem? We don't want 2 more meetings? What's the problem with
So-
having 2 more meetings?
I
I
have
can't,
in March.
I
We
can't
have
do
two
the
in March.
27th, I have a work meeting.
Yeah, we have
Good.
2, yeah, so if
But
we
we'll
just,
still have a quorum.
Mhm.
yeah, do we need the one on the 27th? Do we need 3 this month?
Probably.
For financial?
If we can
Finance?
get to the bottom of the chief, then no. But I was hoping to have that resolved.
By the 21st?
Depends. If we can meet in executive session, get to a point where there's a contract we can
Oh, yeah.
bring forward.
That's
and
tonight?
That's
Oh,
after
Yeah,
this, yeah.
that's fine, I got all that,
And then the other one,
just kidding.
and then the one after this is on the 21st, which is a Tuesday. And Heather can't make the 27th.
So do you wanna wait till the 21st, and then if we have to have it, we keep it, and if we don't, then we nix it?
The 27th.
Yeah, for the 27th.
I'll do anything, I don't care. I mean, she can't be here anyways.
No,
and
I
she's
understand she can't be there,
a
but if we
plethora of
have to, if we
knowledge,
can't
so
get our
I
shit
really
together
like it
for
when she's here,
the,
so.
for the
Let's-
police.
Heather,
and stuff.
are the March meetings also conflicting right now?
No.
So it's always the
March.
2nd and 4th is,
That she can't come, so we
My
have
back
the
first
first
So
and the
March,
third.
March works.
Yeah, in April we have the 1st and 3rd, May is 1st and 3rd, June is 1st and 3rd, no, we should be good for the rest of the year, it's just that 27th, so. At least
So if we can bang everything out in the next meeting,
Then we
we
can-
don't need to have the 27th.
Yeah, we can ditch it, and then.
Yep.
So let's just do that, I mean, in a sense,
So we're required to meet
we're gonna
How
meet
many
on the
times?
21st, so
per the town charter, how many times we're supposed to meet a year.
As often as necessary.
So
I
as
don't
many as we
believe-
need
I don't
to get the
believe
job
there's
done.
a-
Okay.
No,
All right,
that's
there's
subject
not
to-
a
that's
minimum.
subject to
There's
the
no
board, the
minimum
chair,
or
et cetera.
maximum or.
Excellent.
You can
Okay.
technically meet every couple days if you really wanted to.
No,
Like-
let's not, no.
That's why they pay us the good bucks.
Yeah, uh-huh,
Yeah.
no, let's not.
Yeah, I work here.
Yeah.
I have to come anyway.
Okay, then
Good.
we'll move on to the 5-year financial forecast, the TA report.
NG, not good.
I made it look real pretty, just so that.
You like those colors.
down the bottom right-hand side is the slideshow button next to the
It's not the
Zoom,
one I have.
right,
Yes, this is just a presentation of the full.
left. Right there. You're like, yeah, I know.
No, I didn't know. All right, thank you all for being here this evening, and to those watching from home now and at a later date. My name is Nate Boudreau. I have the pleasure of being the Hubbardston Town Administrator, and this evening I am presenting a 5-year forecast for the fiscal years of 2024 through 2028. I'm going to take a quick moment to pause so that, since you're only here alone, you don't need to call the meeting to order,
No,
correct?
I don't have a quorum, so.
Alright, then
nothing's
I
gonna
would like
happen.
to invite the Finance Committee Chair to join us at the table
thank you.
for this presentation.
Alright.
Please note that there is not a quorum of the Finance Committee here this evening, just Madam Chair. The overview of my report is I just wanted to point out that this report was produced as a decision-making tool for the Select Board, Finance Committee, and Hubbardston residents. This is not budgetary advice at this time. We are not at a point in time where things are clear. A forecast is, from what I've learned, actually quite negative, cause you're seeing your revenues as lower than they're likely going to be, and your expenditures as higher than they are likely to be, to kind of come to not a worst case scenario, but a realistic understanding of something that could happen if a few things didn't go our way. These strategies are purposefully conservative to serve as a foundation for developing our 24 budget and budgets moving forward. In this forecast, I made several assumptions. The assessors estimated that $50,000 would be an attainable number to use for annual new growth, but also be low enough that it would not kind of skew our numbers, because last year we had $152,000 in new growth. This year we had not even half of that. So it really is an up and down number, new growth, based upon what is done in terms of economic development, what is done in terms of housing. So it can vary based on different years. Estimated local receipts for FY24, consider a 3-year average, and I ended up going with 2.5% increase for those. And thank you for Select Board Member Monroe for pointing out, with the state aid, I actually used a 2.5% increase where I had originally stated a 2. That is a conservative estimate in that we usually can anticipate between 3 to 5% yearly growth year over year. With the Healy Driscoll administration being so new, I wanted to stay relatively conservative because we do not have any trend data on what they've done in the past. We've worked with the Baker administration for the last 8 years. Other operating expenses are increased annually. I did personnel 2, employee support 2.5, Quabbin Regional School District 6%, Monty Tech 6%, medical insurance 6%, retirement 7%, insurance 6%, expenses 2.5, supplies 2.5, snow and ice 2.5. Our revenue projections do have them going up year over year, with all of our revenue across the board for the most part, so that is good. The treasurer collector had pointed out that she receives over 99% of the annual tax bills and that per year, so that's good. Our state aid, as long as there aren't any travesties, we will.
Can I stop you on that quick?
Yes, sir.
99% you said that's good. I mean, how does that compare to other towns? Do you know? I mean, is that really good, or is that, I mean, 99% seems like
99%
pretty
is
good.
pretty good, yeah.
Comparatively speaking too, right?
Mm-hmm. It is, I'd say communities that are less rural probably have a lower percentage of bills paid. And we're also a relatively small community,
Right.
so, but comparatively speaking, in a number of ways, I'd say that it is good.
Yeah. I would say so too.
Here brings all of our revenue sources together with a increase this year of 3.65%. and being right around there for the years to come, as long as, like I said kind of repetitively, that this is a conservative forecast. These forecasts are always estimating revenue slightly lower than we're actually anticipating, and that is done on purpose. So to illustrate a situation that may not be perfect, as we have been through in the past, but we've also been in situations that have been much, much better than these conservative estimates.
Hey, can you give me some example of what's in the local receipt bucket?
Yes, sir. 1 second. I will open it all up for you, actually. If members of the board or the finance committee did not realize in the version of the presentation that I did send you, if you click the graphs, they open.
Yeah.
Doesn't show up when you print.
No, not so much.
Just saying.
Yikes.
This is the full list. Motor vehicle, interest and penalties, excise tax, pilots, ambulance revenue, collector receipts, treasurer fees, tax lien fees, conservation fees, police fees, fire fees, highway fees, board of health fees, assessor fees, clerk fees, miscellaneous fees, alcoholic beverage licenses, dog licenses, miscellaneous licenses, building permits, gas permits, wiring permits, plumbing permits, miscellaneous permits, RMV court fees, registry fees, fines and forfeitures, earnings on investments, tax liens, penalties and interest on tax liens, sales of surplus land, miscellaneous revenue, transfer in from other funds. Those are all of our
Local receipts.
local
So
receipts.
it's departmental receipts, it's what
Yeah.
each of the departments pull in.
Yeah.
What did we end up budgeting, need for, the marijuana piece
In this year, right now,
for 24?
I'm budgeting nothing.
Okay.
Like, because we have yet to determine that, and I think our relationship with them may be coming a little rockier.
Okay.
And so, I have budgeted nothing for the marijuana, and we will hopefully by year's end have more information on that.
So you took a 3-year average of what we received and added 2.5%?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I think you did.
Yeah.
Zero.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, I think it's zero.
Anything
Yes.
is zero,
Yeah.
zero.
Yes.
Okay.
I went 6% on that.
Yes.
I-
You're being lofty, huh?
No. So, but I will send a email on some upcoming potential issues that I have now encountered shortly. So let's go back to. So that's a relatively conservative review of our revenue forecasts. FY '24 expenditure projections are right there, if anyone has any questions. I do also believe that those are, in being conservative, slightly higher than they may be, so.
So
that-
Nate, to get to those numbers, did you go line by, so it looks like on the first page of your, projections here, you talked about going,
Yeah, I
you
went
know,
line by line
okay.
on every single line item.
so depending on the category, you
Yeah.
increased it, so like personnel went up 2%.
2%.
Employee support 2.5, expenses 2.5,
Mhm.
supplies okay.
And that was reasonable based on trend data of the last couple of years. It's always difficult to determine things like supplies, because they may go up in price, there may be an upgrade, like.
But other things could end up lower, so it
And other things
balances.
could end up lower, and purchasing is difficult, and 2% is difficult for personnel lines, because of course we would love to give higher COLAs than that. Our employees, for the most part, truly deserve it. So it is my hope that somehow, some way, it would be allowable that we do more than a 2%, but in being conservative and in being realistic, I stuck with a 2% across the board for personnel lines at all. Already having the department budgets, I'm well aware that 2% might be a little low based on requests, but that's going to be something that we're going to have to cross when we get there. It's difficult to place any sort of budget in actual light until we get the governor's House 1 budget.
Nate, on assessment, so can you just remind us what that covers? just trying to think of the 84,000, is that like our vocational school assessment? That's not dispatch, cause dispatch is higher than that, I believe. It's not retirement.
It is.
Retirement, workers, nope, one second. Assessments is state assessments, regional transit
Oh, okay.
assessments, overlay and offsets.
Okay, it's just the other side of the cherry sheet. Okay. And then unclassified, 809,000.
Unclassified is retirement, workers' comp, unemployment, health insurance, life insurance, Medicare, and liability insurance.
All of that together adds up to 809,000?
Yep.
Okay.
In a conservative speaking guesstimate
Okay, that's fine.
based on trend data.
Okay. I was just curious, thank you.
The expenditure forecast over the years is pointed out right there. Life seems to be getting more expensive, unfortunately. So we do, as you're going to see shortly, the budget deficit that has been predicted in the last several years is obviously still looming. So that's
So, can you go back to that slide for a second?
Yep.
Sorry, just one question. So, from 23 to 24, we have an increase of 6.1%. Were we using the numbers that were our finalized budget numbers when we reduced things, or were we using the original budget that was established in 22 for 23?
finalized
Okay.
numbers that were reduced, and a lot of what we're going to have to realize is at a minimum our deficit's going to be what was spent to supplement last year's budget on free cash.
Okay.
So, like, that's already out the gate, even if everything came in much, much, much higher than anticipated or much, much lower than anticipated based on what is positive, we're still in a difficult
You're in
situation
the hole.
based on the fact that we used one-time revenue.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, I have one more question, I
Yeah,
lied.
go ahead.
So when you're looking, going from 23 to 24,
Mm-hmm.
in addition to that, is the idea of the increases, is that based on?
The year prior.
Okay, so that's based on 23's original budget, not modified budget, that's still modified budget and.
It's still modified budget.
So I guess I'm confused on how we went from the modified budget if we were adding, 2% for personnel, 2.5% for expenses and so forth to get to a cumulative 6.1% increase.
Because the schools are at 6, the retirement is at 7.
Okay, but even.
Certain things are at 2.53. We already know our assessment for the Worcester Regional Retirement, and
Okay.
that goes from 360 and change to 320 and change.
Okay, did we carry those percentages forward to FY '25?
Yes.
But FY '25 shows less of a percentage increase than FY '24. What am I?
FY '24 was a larger jump because we used the deducted numbers.
But if we, I guess that's where I'm confused, right? So when you're saying we use the deducted numbers, so if we had originally budgeted legal at $100,000, we didn't. But at $100,000 before we started FY '23, we got into FY '23, we got to the school assessment in the fall, we reduced the legal budget to $80,000. 2.5% on 80,000 is less than 2.5% on 100,000. It should be proportional increase, not incremental.
Let me get back to you. on
Okay.
that.
Okay, I'm just trying to see what I'm missing.
And my data sets are all connected to the presentation that I sent to you guys. If
Okay.
anybody wants to take a look at what the actual numbers I used were.
Okay, so I can click.
Yep, you can click.
Again,
Not with
Yeah.
paper.
it's not working.
It's critical to find a balance with debt, as you guys have made important over the last few years. My predecessors had placed a importance on kind of saving up our debt capacity in order to purchase more expensive items. We are working under the plan that we would be able to purchase a fire truck in the coming years, and at the very least put down a large down payment and finance the rest. That's why you will notice that there is a decent amount of capacity. I've been working with Sandy because I am learning that one of the most difficult things about municipal finance is that debt is slightly different than normal, but that is something that I hope to review further during our discussions with the finance committee. Our debt schedule is dropping significantly after this year, but we will be figuring out a way to keep our percentages where we need them to be to not lose any credit worthiness. Our reserves are actually doing quite well, and for that I applaud you for your steadfast financial acumen over the last few years. I know my predecessor was pushing for these accounts quite heavily because they were not where they are today 5 to 10 years ago. So whereas the reserves are not part of the budget per se and are not part of the forecast, I thought it was important to point out that we are doing okay reserve-wise, and if it comes down to a point of emergency where we had to put slightly less, we would still be at the kind of marks that we were looking to hit with most of our reserve accounts. And here is the one slide that I don't like. So here we are pointing to a predicted budget deficit that is systematic and continual year over year over year.
Which is not sustainable.
This has been predicted as far back as I can see in my files on my computer to at least 6 years ago, when town administrators started to discuss a unsustainable deficit moving forward from this year being 380,000 to 2028, which would be just under $1 million. Let's all remember that this is a worst case scenario and a forecast. This is not something that is 100% accurate, and simply points to that we do need to make some changes to ensure that our expenses don't outpace our revenue. It should be a balanced budget every year, and this has been a problem that we have been dealing with for some time.
What's the driving factor for the debt? Or the negative balance of revenue less expenditures, those numbers? Is it school?
It's the school.
Their percentage every year?
Yeah.
Keeps going up. It used to be like 3 or 4%.
Oh, I think it's a lot of things, right?
It's a lot of
Well,
inflation,
everything
It's
going
general
up.
inflation,
General,
it's
yeah.
the school, it's.
But we've been dealing with the school for, what, 2 years now,
Yeah.
inflation-wise?
So these have been my recommendations.
The bottom line too is our revenue is not really increasing,
It's not keeping
but the
pace with the
expenditures
with
are because they're going
inflation.
up, but we're not going up as far as revenue, and so that's
Right.
central to that
So
too.
it's everything compounding.
Yeah, right.
As with the past several years, a limited growth budget is required to avoid significant budget cuts in FY24. Unfortunately, there aren't many places that we can cut a hefty amount from anymore. Our departments are doing more with less, and they've been asked to do that for the better part of a decade. Education is the principal driver of spending increases, accounting for 59% of the expected budget in FY24. We need to target school expenses at an increase of 3 to 4%. Any extra above that amount will need to be funded either via an operating override or use of one one-time free cash like we did last year.
Yeah, that's gonna happen every year.
That's what's compounding. The necessary one-time funding is what's going to compound year over year over year.
Yeah, we acted, it's this one.
We're in trouble.
We need to work diligently at improving the working relationship with the school, continuing our requests for transparency and an earlier announcement of what their plans are. The school district needs to work with the municipalities to figure out a number that is realistic. As
I
we
don't
have,
think they care.
as we have
to be
said
honest with
100 times over, we are in support of school and education, but not on the backs of everything else. We need to continue adhering to financial policies that emphasize the importance of reserve and capital requirements, maintain an overly transparent budget process that lets individuals understand firsthand the anticipated requirements of Hubbardston, continue to look for ways to minimize the budget deficit, such as increasing new growth, economic development, research and regionalization, decreasing the budget, and proposing a well-defined operational override. I'm meeting with Barry tomorrow to see if there's anything we can do about regional assessing. I'm uncertain if that's going to be realistic at this time, but it's at least worth the conversation. Need to, as we have been over the last couple of years, connect all the budget decisions to projections, plans, and policies to allow for a long-term planning plan. And my ask tonight is that you guys, the select board, authorize me to develop a proposed operating override action plan in collaboration with the finance team and the finance committee. This is not, if authorized, this is not something that I hope we have to use, but I want to be able to present what this would look like. I feel that since I arrived, a lot of 2.5 override has been dropped without any real sentiment of what that would mean. A 2.5 override is not something you do in a week or in a month. It takes the better part of a year to get through, and some larger communities end up hiring lobbying firms and marketing firms, which we likely would not do, but it needs to be understood the timeline, amount we would be looking for, et cetera, on what that would look like.
So I have a question, please.
Yep.
So if it comes down to a 2.5% override, and of course it's gotta be passed by the people, but what is that 2.5%, how does that affect the people? Is that 2.5% based on what they pay for taxes now?
It's
Or-
the only way you're allowed to tax over 2.5%.
Right,
It has
so-
nothing to do with 2.5%. It's called a 2.5% proposition override, right?
Yeah.
Because back in the 80s,
I
when the
voted on it.
laws
I
for
did
2.5.
vote on it, yeah.
But it doesn't mean it's a 2.5% on
So-
top of it, it just
okay.
means to go above the
Above-
normal
above the-
course of 2.5%, like a COLA, right?
Yeah.
To go above that
Yeah.
COLA, you have to have an additional vote. That's
So
what it
it's
means, it
whatever
could
we,
be,
it's whatever we need.
it could be an additional 10 cents per person, it could be
Right.
an additional 40 cents. But
Right.
the problem is, at the end of the day, and what people don't love about it is, just like increasing, right? It stays forever, it doesn't go away. So next year, when you do 2.5%, you do 2.5%, that's part of the base. So people's taxes continually go up a little bit more.
Well, they have been anyways for 3 years, 4 years, so.
And that was one of the hardest realizations I had here the other day. I'm scratching my head trying to figure out how to sugarcoat a budget deficit while I'm walking outside and hearing people say, I don't know what I'm getting for these taxes. So it's burning on both ends, and that's incredibly unfortunate.
Can I ask another question? I don't know if I'm out of bounds here, but we're level funding people's raises at 2%, right? That's what you proposed. And what about the towns around us? How are they doing? Do you have any idea how, are they level funding at the same thing, or?
No towns around here
I'm concerned about the 5 towns that are part of the QRSD, okay? because if we're all these towns are level funding their employees, and they're in a contract negotiation with their teachers, and they're gonna give them 3 to 4% over a 3-year period, you're talking 12% or 9% or whatever it may be, it's really not fair to the town folk in every town when they're giving out raises to the teachers, which has to be approved by the school committee, so they really need to know this going forward, how bad we are in shape with all the other 4 towns.
Couldn't agree with you
Agreed.
more.
So I just need to get it off my chest.
Absolutely, and without looking at the numbers exactly, I can tell you, no one's giving out large raises
No,
in
they're all
the-
doing 2.5%.
Yeah, in the Quabbin region.
Basically basically level funding or whatever you call it. But, I'd really like to know what those teachers are getting, and they're not very transparent with that when they give their raises.
And
You gotta dig for it, like we did a couple of years ago, we had to dig for the percentage, or a year ago. And I don't think they
they're
really gave it out.
And they're renegotiating this year.
I
and they're
know
gonna
that.
be
That's why I'm
and
bringing
they're
that
gonna be
up.
hiring a superintendent this year.
Yeah.
and-
Yeah. So, they just pass the buck on to every little town, we get screwed every year.
Could you put that back?
Yes, sir.
I was gonna.
Alright, I'm done.
Just saying, because I'm about to say, I think we should authorize you, just, the reality of the situation is, again, as far as I'm concerned,
And as
we are going to be facing a 2.5.
So you're looking for an authorization so that it'd be more presentable to the people what
Yeah.
we're looking for?
Per our financial
plan
policies,
out,
it
yeah.
states that anytime there is use of one-time funds, the town administrator is authorized to create an action plan to get us out of use of one-time funds.
Yeah.
We have known for a number of years that there is an unsustainable budget deficit moving forward year after year after year. Every year, we rob Peter to pay Paul to get out of it and move
And
forward.
it's not sustainable.
And it's not sustainable. I'm hoping to draft up an action plan that is never used. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
But I think we should, as a group, as a big we, the whole community, the people involved in our municipality should understand what a Proposition 2.5 override would entail. And without knowing the exact numbers, we won't be able to go too far down the rabbit hole. But I think with a high level action plan, we could kind of guide what would go on and what it would look like. Because from sitting right here, we don't know what we would be seeking to override for. We could override for.
We're in limbo till the school tells us what they're looking for, which will be.
And that's why I by no means want anyone sitting at home to think I'm coming in trying to tax people.
No.
I want to
no.
be realistic about what our options are moving forward.
Mhm.
I truly hope that we don't need to go that route and something happens that clears all this up.
Well, it's usually a negative effect when you go that route, so. And it's just, and if you gotta do it 2 years in a row, you're really in trouble.
So Nathan, would you, want us to authorize you in the form of a motion?
Yes.
Okay, I
You want
would
it
be
or you want
happy
me to
to,
do it?
huh?
I'll do it, alright.
Okay.
I'd like to authorize, our town administrator to develop a proposed operating override action plan in collaboration, with the finance team and finance committee.
Second.
Motion made and second, any questions, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Yes, opposed, motion carried. Ball is in your court, thank you.
Yeah.
Let me know when you want to meet with us and I'll do better than I did this time.
Absolutely, and I'm meeting with a couple of colleagues in municipal administration to discuss this, because people have done this before, obviously, so
Yeah.
I'm looking to have a couple of conversations before I even get to understanding what I'm looking to do.
Okay.
But but this report is on the town website, so anybody from the town can look at this and click on all these links, right? I'm just saying it
We
so that
can't
way
get
the
'em to
people
vote,
at
how are we gonna
YouTube-
get 'em to look at that?
Cause we're gonna share it on the internet, that's
Oh,
what,
okay.
on the social
So-
medias, that's what we're gonna do.
Okay.
If you go to our website,
Yep.
hubbardstonma.us.
Yeah, but then they can click on all the fun little links too, and they can see it
They
just
can
like
open
we
it up.
see it.
That's right.
Where do I get these pictures? I want them.
I don't know, which picture was that?
Go to
Those,
the budget and finance page, you go all the way to the bottom under financial planning, and that
There
is
it
where the
is.
forecast is. You can tell by my image that I put the school in the biggest piece of the pie.
Should've made it half the pie. It is
I didn't even know that was our school.
59%, you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
That's
Should've
the
been half
center.
the pie, or a little more.
Are those all Hubbardston pictures?
Yep,
Yep.
yes, they are,
Did you think he just randomly took pictures and was like, clip
Stock
art?
pictures.
yeah,
Well, doggone.
stock photos.
Okay, so, we'll move on then,
I'd just like to commend you, Nathan, I think this was excellent, I read through it, I went through it.
Yes, I
Yeah.
agree.
And, the charts, I love the charts and the
Thank you.
graphs and everything, and your
Yep,
bullet
I
points,
agree.
I think it was a spectacular job, a nice presentation.
Yep.
Not too big, not too small, very user-friendly, so nice job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
Yes.
exact term I was gonna use, user-friendly, it's very user-friendly.
okay, we have no policies to review, so nothing anticipated by the chair, public, press, nope. So we will be
I
adjourning
got
from.
something not anticipated
Oh,
by the
I'm sorry, I
chair.
didn't see it.
Well, you blew right past it.
Well, we're trying to,
Can you pull up that town website again, Nathan?
Yep. Pulling up town
And can you go down to the main menu, charter and bylaws? I think it's charter and bylaws, keep going down, keep going down. Charter and bylaws, there.
Yep.
Scroll down. No, that may not be it.
Are you looking for something particular?
That's weird.
What?
That shouldn't be linked to that.
Maybe that's why, maybe that's why,
That's charter and bylaws, and it brought us to town policies.
yeah, that's not what I'm looking for.
Make note
Don't
of
keep
that.
us in
Yeah,
suspense, what are you looking for?
Oh, no big deal, but, gotta update our governor.
Yes.
Somewhere in there, there's a list of
Absolutely.
officers and
Absolutely.
There you go.
the governor and still shows
Lieutenant
all
governor, yeah, everybody.
I've, unfortunately, because I enjoy that side of stuff, not had a super big, large amount of time to go through the website as much as I've wanted to.
Yeah.
I'm training a few staff members on also using the website, so hopefully over time, everyone will be able to manage their own silo of the website, and then
Yeah, they used to be able to, yeah.
there's been a lot of
Yeah,
turnover.
turnover, yes, true, touche.
Good work, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
I had one
Thank you,
thing,
Susan.
Chris, did you have anything else, Chris, or?
no, no.
Okay, boiler? Any?
So as I was talking about before you actually got here, I ended up taking the boiler off because I have no new information to
all right, I
to
thought, yeah.
present.
Cause, yeah, Tony's like, are we supposed to be talking about, she asked,
Yeah.
did you talk about the boiler? I'm like,
I have
no, it's not even on
I have
here.
no new information
Where'd
to
it go?
present, no funding source to propose, so
It will
Yeah,
get
that's
us-
in a
it will
holding
get us
pattern.
through the winter.
That's getting a holding
The
pattern.
boiler, I've reached out to National Grid to see of grant opportunities, and we likely will have to wait until town meeting to deal with that, but I
Okay.
will bring it up at the next meeting.
Okay, one more thing, the outhouse is officially on the ice and the ice held, so, cause that was
Not
a
for
question.
long.
I know, that was a question,
Gonna
cause
be
last week the pot, or
50
earlier
on
last
Thursday.
week,
I'm
the
thinking
pond was not
Saturday or
frozen.
Sunday, it's going
Yep.
for a drink.
I don't think it's gonna be on there long, but it
No. How
was
thick
placed
is
on
it?
there. It's probably a good 4 inches.
Is it that thick?
It looks like it
Well,
from
it's
what
safe
we
to
could
walk
see.
on it 4
Yeah.
inches.
Yeah, we didn't go
You
and
didn't drill a
traipse
hole?
it.
I wouldn't
No,
walk
I
on
didn't
it.
drill no holes. We put it on when the boom lift put it down. You should have heard the crack. I was like, oh, just stay. And he pulled out the boom lift and it stayed. And I'm like, okay, we're good.
Let's run.
Yep, I took pictures, video. It's proof
Yeah.
that it was there.
Cool.
So.
I think it's
Okay.
gonna be a tough year this year
Oh
to
yeah, it's,
figure
gonna,
it out.
it's not gonna be on there long.
No.
Mr. Chair, I do have a couple of things to say in my TA report that I told
Oh, I'm sorry.
certain department heads that I would say.
Sorry,
Alright.
go ahead.
Still going.
I will shorten this. As you all know, we opened the senior center this weekend as a request-only warming center. Fortunately for our staff, no one requested it, but it was still, I feel, a nice gesture to open it up just in case anybody came in need. I wish we could have opened it up in the more serious time of the day we all lost power for 2 days, but unfortunately hindsight is 2020. The generator is now operating much better than it was then.
It works good with fuel, huh?
Yeah, it works amazing when there's propane in the tank. The COA nativity scene caused some confusion at our last meeting. The COA did not pay $800 to keep the decorations at the church. They gave the church a donation of $300, and these facts had no bearing on their request to donate the nativity scene to the town. The main factor in the donation was the physical demands of setting it up. The COA will house the nativity scene in their shed until it is time to take it out next year. With this, I am considering this issue complete. I have discussed that with Claudia. Yes?
One question. So that sentence seems to read that the COA donated $300 to the church. Was that the Friends of the COA?
Yes, it was the
Can we
fir-
clarify that in
I
that
will
sentence?
clarify that 100%.
Thank you.
Beginning today, I held my Monday afternoon open office hours, and one person came to see me, and I was really happy about it.
Excited.
They wanted to talk about the cell phone tower, so I had that conversation. And in 2 weeks, unless we cancel it, I planned on having a open house to allow members of the public to meet Veterans Agent Lauren Wright, Town Clerk Kristen Foster, and myself. So I can, if we end up canceling that meeting, I can move that. Over the last it's actually been a while, that's why the report is long. I attended a lot of meetings, so I won't take up time here. If you can check the town administrator's report on the website. My predecessor, Ryan McLean, came to visit us last week. Peter actually stopped in.
You came in, oh, tell me.
You didn't tell us?
I didn't.
Yeah,
I
well,
would-
yeah.
I wish I'd known.
I didn't even get a salary.
Yeah.
I get screwed every time.
Yeah.
Pardon my language.
We talked about a couple of transitional
Oh,
items.
shoot, I wish I'd known.
Yeah, then we would've had a quorum.
Met with Gardner Mayor
Same
Michael
issues.
Nicholson a
Yeah,
couple
yeah.
days ago, discussing the amounts of the IMA for animal control to be proposed. It will likely be a 2% increase, which will be proposed at your next meeting.
No vehicle replacement this year, right? For
No.
them?
I attended the Hubbardston Board of Health meeting in February and gave a presentation on the uses of Kyocera, as we spoke about earlier. We spoke about the marijuana host community agreements relative to the slightly concerning letter regarding odor that they sent to the two businesses, which will likely come to members of the select board's plates in the coming days. I've already received a Freedom of Information request from them for these complaints. Well, the town clerk received it and I was CC'd. Finance, I presented the forecast this evening, and the capital improvement plan will be presented in 2 weeks after bringing it up to the CIP next week. And what else we got? I want to take notice of the fact that all of our public safety and security departments have been working incredibly hard as of late. There have been drug busts and medical calls and tree work, and they've all been working really hard, and I would like to thank them for that. So thank you to the police department, the fire department, and the Department of Public Works for their incredibly hard work as of late. Procurement wise, we are beginning to seek competitive proposals for property and liability insurance. This is a best practice that they say every 3 years you should go back out and just see what's out there. So nothing against Barry Insurance. I'm meeting with Barry Insurance tomorrow but we just have to see what's out there. I released the first episode of my YouTube short show called Hubbardston Headlines today. You can go and watch it on the town website. The first guest of my weird little show was me. I was my own guest. And
How many clicks?
I will let you guys know how many clicks, but
What do you mean clicks, views?
On
How many
YouTube,
views?
how many views, yeah. It's on the YouTube channel,
Yeah,
town YouTube
probably.
channel.
If you put some good music on it, Cody will watch it over and
Yeah.
over again.
on the 27th, I am not forcing, 100% not forcing, but the town clerk will be joining me on Hubbardston Headlines to discuss the upcoming town meeting and town election season. The kind of point of having this less than 10-minute YouTube program is an effort to get information out to the residents quicker than having to watch a 3-hour meeting. So hopefully people will be able to just listen to that really
Who
quickly.
doesn't wanna watch a 3-hour meeting? Come on, it's good stuff.
Yeah,
It's good stuff.
it's the abridged version.
Yeah.
We have a couple of grant applications out, and I'm always looking for more. The DLTA grant that we have received in the past, one to complete the master plan, and one to look into zoning modifications that will enhance agro-tourism and eco-tourism are going out tomorrow morning. I attended the Community One Stop for Growth training last week. That's the program that was developed under the Baker administration that allows you to submit one application for several grants that could potentially work together. And that's pretty much it. On February 20th, the town offices will be closed for President's Day. So, thank you all very, very much.
Did
Thank
you
you.
send that to us?
I put it on the website.
Oh, you
Yeah,
did?
it wasn't hyperlinked this time. He
Oh.
hyperlinked the 5-year forecast.
Alright. You don't send that to us every,
Like I said,
every week?
I do one of these ahead of every meeting.
Okay. Alright, maybe, I guess we're spoiled.
Well, he sent us the forecast instead.
Yeah.
I will send these to you every time.
I just, whatever.
Being completely honest, I didn't get it done by Thursday.
No,
Because
I
I-
was just curious, cause I remember
because
last
I
time I
was
saw you, I was talking to you, you said, yeah, I gotta work on my thing tomorrow.
Yeah,
Like,
and the forecast ended up taking
supposed to
me,
get it by tomorrow.
the forecast ended up taking me a little longer than I anticipated.
Not a big deal.
Alright then.
On your podcast, are you talking about the state of the town, much like your 5-year budget plan just talked about?
Mm-hmm. Yep, I'm trying not to be negative,
I understand.
like we didn't,
But that would be a good opportunity in
Yeah.
a different media, different venue to
Mhm.
get the information out that we've got some tough decisions to
Yeah.
make here in the near future. You know, in your little 10-minute podcast or
Yeah.
whatever you call it there, you could,
oh, absolutely,
talk
that's
about why and
the,
what the challenges are and.
yep, and that's the plan. And I had mentioned in the first one that I was doing this forecast, and we will be doing a whole one specifically about the budget. It will likely be longer than 10 minutes, but just to get a little
Great.
bit of information out there. It's in addition to a news, a rejuvenate.
Don't go too much longer than 10 minutes.
No.
Keep it
Yeah.
brief, because you're gonna lose people.
Yeah, you're not gonna get monetized anyway, so don't worry about it.
No.
Not in this town.
But no, that's good, okay, very good.
Perfect.
You're ahead of me on that then.
Alright then, already said no policies to review. anticipated by the chair? No. Public press? No. Okay, what we will be doing is adjourning from the open session and moving into executive session. And we will come out of executive session, back to open session in order to adjourn for the night.
Mr. Chair, can I have like a 2-minute break to use the men's room
Can-
before you go into executive?
What, can we just break into executive and then they can shut the cameras off?
Let's get the
Yeah.
let's,
Okay, yeah, roger that.
Sure.
I'm sorry.
So, we'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion
To
to
adjourn?
adjourn from, adjourn from our normal meeting, going into executive session. M.G.LC 30A, sorry, I'm trying to read the little print, section 21A, get your glasses out here. Section 21A, number 2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel. Ryan Kuchar, Chief of Police Contract.
Motion's been made,
Second?
second. And, it's a voicemail, so, voice vote, so, all in favor, Peter?
Yes.
Yeah.
Chris?
Yes.
Heather?
Yes.
Katie?
Yes.
Jeff, yes. We are now adjourned and into executive session. The recording should stop.
Be
Yeah.
released.
That, it's a different person who's doing it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so,
it is a different.
can you bob it up and down if it's, we're done?
So,
Awesome, thank you.
We just need a moment, cause,
Yeah.
Oh.
Peter needed to
Yeah, I
stretch
was
his
hitting the
legs.
Zoom.
is it me or did it get cold in here?
It's cold.
I'm cold.
Did I just mess something up on your end?
Well, there's Hades in here.
I was trying to get it bigger.
No.
No, okay.
80,
I was like,
my
okay.
God.
No, he said
Hades.
Hades.
Oh.
Hades.
Oh, there's 80s.
Well, you
I
have
think
a
you might have
sweatshirt
more,
on, yeah.
Internal warmth.
Well, no, he
So
has a
did
sweatshirt on.
you plan to fail or fail to plan?
I have a sweatshirt and a jacket.
Put something on.
I will in a moment.
I'm the only one that's ever warm here during the day.
Cause it's
Well,
all
you
the
usually have
ladies.
your jacket
Yeah,
too.
they all have heaters going
Yes.
and.
Well, ladies, as you get older,
Yeah.
you get colder, so shh.
Had the two
Right,
women.
Tony, it's cold.
I had two women who worked in the city clerk's office with me, and they're both in their 60s at the time. And they could never make up their mind as to what they needed, so one would want the window open, one would turn the heat off,
Yeah.
one would, AC on, window open.
Yeah.
They'd fight over it the whole time. The chief of staff came in one day, mayor's chief of staff, and